guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to another discussion video today. We're speaking about Derry City. Delighted to be welcomed by JP Fahy, who is a massive, obviously, Derry City supporter. JP, thanks for coming on. What's the crack?
Thanks for having me, Keith. It's good to be back. All good, thank you.
Brilliant stuff. I mean, look, it's been a whirlwind season in many ways for Derry City. We'll get into that as well. I want to start off and talk about the chairman, Philip O'Doherty, JP, because a curious case. He's been around, like he's been chairman for about 10 years. And you were telling me before we came on that he's vice chairman for the couple of years before that, 1997 or so. But he's been fairly quiet. You don't really see him in the limelight. It's only the last few months he's come into play, let's say, in the public eye. And he had a big say in Higgins coming in and that. But I kind of want people to know or find out for myself as well, why all of a sudden is he putting the money into Derry City? Obviously, he sold his engineering company to the US for $2 billion. So, you know, that's that helps, I would suggest. So that's probably the main reason where the money's come from. But people might know that. So can you explain maybe Philip's background and a bit about that in relation to Derry City to people that wouldn't know, basically?
Well, it's not all of a sudden that he's putting the money in. He's been doing it for the last 10 years. He's been covering the shortfalls, and he's been topping up the manager's budget. I think I know over the last 10, 11 years, he's had a bit of there's some people from the fan base have sort of been saying, "Oh, he should be putting a bit more in." But what we have to realise is, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have as competitive as a team as what we have had over the last 10 years, because we would have had to make cuts elsewhere and just to make sure that we were breaking even, and it obviously would have impacted on the playing budget. He's very much somebody who keeps himself to himself. As Derry City fans, we only ever seem to hear from him whenever there's an appointment of a new manager, and I think in his tenure there's been quite a few of them, and we're hoping that the latest one is going to be his last for quite a while. And it's quite extraordinary what's happened to him. He sold his business that he built up from scratch. I think was in the 1980s, and it really is proof for any young people that are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, is never be put off by anybody, but look at the story of Philip O'Doherty, that anything's possible, and never just if that's your goal, they go for it. And fair play to him. I take my hat off and applaud him for what he's done.
Yeah, and the good thing is, I suppose, JP, I was just looking at him there a bit as well. You're right, yeah. 1987, I think he built that company from scratch as well. But you know, he's it's not like this is a new owner coming in, say, like a Peak Six type situation at Dundalk. You know what I'm saying? Where it's American investors coming in, and you're thinking like they might put loads of money into the club, and then if they struggle, they might disappear and things like this. He's a local guy. Like, he's been around Derry City. He knows the club inside out, and he's seen good times. He's seen bad times as well. So he's seen it all. And the type of players that they're looking at, obviously McGonigal has come in, you know, from the Irish League. He's a very good player. He costs him about 35 grand or something like that, but he's a good player and he's settling in. You can see how well he's settling in as the weeks go on. Duffy coming home, McElhenney coming back to Derry as well. So he kind of seems to me as well that obviously, like, the manager, Rory Higgins, has a lot to do with players coming in also, but so would he, I'd imagine. Like, he'd look at the blueprint, and there just seems to be a good blueprint at Derry City there as well, doesn't there, at the moment?
There very much is. I think over the last 6-7 years, we've had our fingers burned with signings, and we were kind of basically wasting money, because there was players maybe coming in a year's contract, and they were, after a few months, you realised that they weren't worth it, and they were maybe leaving around summertime, and you were paying them off, and then you're having to pay more money to bring others in, and now what they have got is a really good, from the outside looking in, it looks like a really good structure of contracts. They're long-term contracts, and I don't know how any manager can work on a contract where he's got players that are on year to year. I honestly don't know how they're able to do it, how they're expected to build build a team. And this doesn't just go for the past Derry managers. This goes for every manager in the League of Ireland. I don't see how they're expected to challenge for things unless they're given the backing. And as a Derry fan, it's absolutely magnificent now to see that we have been crying out for years for our manager to get players, a squad that he knows it from when he finishes up, say October, November 1 year, that the nucleus of that squad is going to be there come January. And if you look, the first signing Roy Higgins made was Ronan Boyce. He made sure that he got him a contract extension, which was the same length. It's the same length of time as what Rory's contract is, 3.5 years. And then you've got Michael Duffy coming in a 4-year deal. Michael Linney's coming in with a 2-year deal with an option of a third. And I suspect that any players that are coming in are probably going to be coming in no less than 2-year contracts, I would imagine.
They're pretty much all Derry
really
boys as well, aren't they, JP? That's the point as well. Like, you know, so they know the club, they've been at the club. You know, Lafferty, you can throw him in that mix as well. Like, he's technically a new signing as well, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's a concise plan here. Like, you know, it's not just like, I remember a long time ago under, I think it was Pat Fenlon, that Derry brought in a lot of stars at the time. A lot of them were from Dublin-based clubs, Shelburne, etc. And it just didn't work. There was a prima donna element to it, wasn't there? But this does feel like it's a proper plan, and everyone's rowing, you know, in the same direction between the manager, the director, you know, Paddy McCourt and that, and the chairman. And that's what you want to see. When I first seen it, I was a bit worried, to be honest. But, you know, when you read up and you're thinking, oh, geez, loads of money going in here, is it going to be one of those situations where they'll be in big trouble in a couple of years? But the more time has went on, the more I've read up and the more I've looked at what they're actually doing, the more confident I am of what they're actually doing at the club. Like,
oh, definitely. Like, if you look from the manager, he's a Limavady man, which is County Derry, which is just down the road. You've got Paddy McCourt in there, Mark McChrystal, who are all ex-Derry players. They're born in the city. I think the only one who hasn't had an affiliation with the club ever before is Rafa Cortaro, which I think is an absolutely magnificent appointment by Rory, to bring him in, because as a Derry fan, he was always the pantomime villain whenever he came up against us. But that was because he was kind of jealous that he wasn't on your team, kind of thing. He was definitely a player that we'd have loved to have had with us, and it's brilliant to see him with us. You mentioned McGonigal there. He's another County Derry man. He's from Dungiven, which is just out the road as well. So and then McElhinney and Duffy, ex-players.
Hugh McLaughlin's,
yeah. They're all, it's all local boys that they're bringing in. So it's definitely got a different feel to what we've probably seen in the past with League of Ireland clubs and money. And we're not just chasing the best players, we're chasing the best Derry players first and foremost, and then maybe building around them with people who come from outside the city. And I don't think we can be successful without bringing in players from outside the city. I think we do that, but it's nice to have a nucleus of players from maybe around Derry, Donegal, and I think it's different if we look, because the likes of maybe Drogheda and other teams in the past, they've gone and just the best players. They've paid them the most money just to get them. But I think what we're doing is we're getting them the best local players, and we're wanting them to be local and stay local and get the best out of them for the rest of their careers. I think it's got a different feel about it than what maybe we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think that's the point I was making earlier as well with Philip O'Doherty. Like, he understands the city probably as well. He understands what the Derry people want. And as you say, it's all right bringing in Derry players, but they have to be good, don't they? Yeah. Michael Duffy, though, like, what a player. He's only 27 years of age still, 4-year contract. He's actually been really good the last month or so for Dundalk as well, in what's been a trying season. It's been, you know, he's you know, that situation at Dundalk is a different situation to what's at Derry. You know, they're signing players from here, there, and everywhere. There didn't seem to be a coherent plan, etc. And it just shows no matter what you do, you can throw money at it. you'll still struggle if you don't have a coherent plan and place and a proper structure. And you just get that sense of Derry City, and it's great to see, because Derry City have been more or less struggling the last decade, you'd have to say, on the whole, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
And it's a massive, like, it's potential to be a massive club, and always has. And you always felt with Derry City that, you know, there must be something they can do to make things better. But another thing as well is the academy. He's looking to build an academy, which is huge as well. So he's decided that, you know, we're not just splurging money here, there, everywhere on players. Like, we want to build an academy here in Derry, and we want to see that prosper as well. Like, that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. Because Derry City are a club that don't own anything. They don't own anything. The ground is the council's. The only thing they own really is the players. That's the only thing that they can really make money from. And if you're lucky, you maybe get one player every 2 years. I know there was a time where we were selling a player every year, which was very good. But if you don't sell that player, then the next thing you have to qualify for Europe. And it'd be nice. He's talked about he wants to leave a legacy, but he just doesn't want to leave a legacy for the club. He wants to leave a legacy for the city as well. And one of the main reasons behind wanting to build the academy is he wants Derry City to have somewhere that they can call their own or call their home. It's been built as an academy, but I think it's going to house the first team as well, which is brilliant as well. And if you can provide the best training facilities, then you stand every chance of being able to attract the best players. Definitely the best players in Ireland, whether it's north and south. Top, maybe some good players from the UK and beyond as well. So
not only that, JP, but actually keep your Duffys and McElhennys who moved on. Do you know what I mean? If a McElhenney and a Duffy type player comes through now in the next couple of years, Derry would have a better chance of keeping them in the League of Ireland. Obviously, if they go abroad, that's a different story. But you know, the likes of, say, a Boyce, we'll throw him out there for the minute because he's been outstanding, one of the best young players in the league this season. You know, he could be tempted technically if, say, Shamrock Rovers came in with a big offer, but the way things are going at Derry and what they can offer Derry, etc., it's more likely you're keeping players like that. So that's huge as well. Not just bringing in players, but actually keeping existing players as well, away from the clutches of Dundalk or Shamrock Rovers, for example.
100%. And one of the key things behind that is the length of contract that you're getting. It safeguards a player and it safeguards the club. As touched there on Ronan Boyce, 3.5-year contract, which is massive. And do I think at the end of a 3.5-year contract will he be still at Derry? I hope so. But the way he's developing, I'd imagine that he'd probably be across the water. But look,
more funds at least.
Yeah, exactly. But look, if he's not, hopefully he's still at Derry, because we're always talking about where we want to keep the best. We want to keep the best players in the league, and to do that, you have to pay the good money. And I think Dundalk done that to keep Michael Duffy, because Michael Duffy was the best player in the league, without a doubt, a few seasons ago. And to be honest, he's probably, and I don't mean to be disrespectful towards the League of Ireland, but he's probably too good for this league. He could probably cut it at championship level in England.
I wonder if he regrets that deep down now. I don't know. He'd wonder, but maybe he's a homeboy as well, as in he's an Irish. He doesn't like the idea of going abroad. You don't know. It's difficult, isn't it?
It's hard to know. The only I wouldn't say he would regret it, no, because he was across there with Celtic, and he had a few loan spells, and he came back and he found a really good place in Dundalk, and he just wants to come home now and settle with Derry. And who knows, he might go maybe across for a couple of years. Who knows? But look, he's here with us now for 4 years, and we're delighted to have him. And we're building. It looks like we're building something special at the club, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And hopefully we can find a good site for the academy and the training base, and we can go. Hopefully we can go from there. Like.
And even on the pitch at the moment, there's a real good feel factor, actually, to be fair, since Higgins and Kataro came in as well. And, Declan Devine was a good manager, but just, I don't know what happened. It just didn't work out, did it, to be fair? But anyway, Higgins came in, and, Derry up to fourth in the league, still have a chance of getting into Europe, which is hard to believe, actually, from earlier on the season, JP. But his record since he came in, Derry City would be second in the league if you were to do a table since Higgins came in.
Yeah.
So the League of Ireland is funny. I'm not going to go into the likes of Waterford too much, but you look at Waterford now with the quality they have, they're ninth in the league, but they're not a team that are ninth in the league in terms of the quality they have now. But Derry City, you could argue a little bit like that as well. I mean, they could easily be ahead of Sligo, you know, clear of Bows if they had the squad now at the start of the season as well. And up there with Pats probably, to be fair, as well. So, you know, you're looking at them when you're going, like, it was a brilliant turnaround by Higgins. Like, you know, obviously McGonigal and Junior and that came in. Junior's playing excellent again. He struggled at Sligo and Dundalk, but he seems to have found a home again at Derry City. But like, what do you put the turnaround down to under Higgins exactly?
I think it's just down to the manager himself, and maybe Raf coming in as well. And because you touched on there, Derry being a better squad. It's really effectively, it's different to what Waterford have brought players and they make themselves better. Derry brought in McGonigal and Junior, but they lost Patchen. Really, from the squad that's there now, the only difference is them two players. Patchen. Turnaround. So I think you have to put it all down to the manager and his background team and the players, probably the players themselves. Just not going down and really wanting to do well for not just the club and the fans, but for themselves as well. They probably felt they had a point to prove because after 6 games they hadn't won a game, and
they were probably underachieving with that group anyway as well, though, weren't they? A little bit, to be fair.
I would say so. Now towards the end of Declan's reign, you could see them starting to get better and better, or maybe not better and better, but you could see them starting to improve. Would it have got us up to 4th? I'm not exactly sure. I don't think so. But it's been a really good turnaround. And I think, as you say there, we could very easily be above Sligo. Just results have gone not in our way in the last few weeks. Like we drew with Bows and drew with Finn Harps, and you look back at the Brandywell game, we were 2-0 up against Shamrock Rovers and beat 4-2. You just go throughout the league or throughout the campaign and see where you've dropped results. Like we had 2 points from the opening 6 games, which makes it more impressive as well. Well, for Rory Higgins, because his first game was against the top of the table Sligo Rovers, don't forget, and he won it 1-0. Sligo didn't have a shot on target that day, and I think there was a few people were apprehensive about the appointment because he hadn't managed before. But I think everybody was at that point were maybe going off that, oh well, he's worked with Stephen Kenny, so he knows what he's doing, and I think now we're starting to see that he does know what he's doing, and he's learned from the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the only negative for Derry is the possibility. I don't know what you think of this, whatever, that Owen Toll might leave in the summer. Do you think there's a chance he'll stay? I know Hearts are still interested. Might be difficult for him to turn that down if their interest is maintained.
Well, I think there's always a chance that he'll stay because he's still under contract for another year. So there is that possibility. It's hard. It's hard when a club from Great Britain come in. It's always hard to turn it down because you've more exposure. You've better chance of maybe going up another step. Maybe make it into international teams and stuff like that than what you do playing on in the Ireland. Look, I think everyone knows he's Derry City's best centre half.
Arguably the best in the league, individually anyway.
Exactly. We would love to see him stay.
It's a curious one, JP. Sorry to cut across, but I still think, even to this day, he's a little underrated, which I find baffling, to be honest, at this stage. He's around playing 4 or 5 years at this point, you know what I mean, for Derry City. And I know Derry have struggled in that sometimes, and that doesn't help the scenario. And but we've seen good partnerships at the likes of Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk and that. I still think individually, though, and I think he's improved throughout, that he's, in my opinion, the best individual defender in the league. May not mean he's had the best impact in a season, if you get me, but I just find it very curious that he's still highly underrated. People do think he's good, still don't think they quite get it with him for some reason. I don't. It's
I
baffling to me.
100% agree. I 100% agree. I think if Owen Toole was playing at any other club apart from Derry, if he was playing at Dundalk, St Pat's, Shamrock Rovers, Bulls, I think he would be getting the recognition that he truly deserves. Because he is, as you say, individually, he is probably the best centre half in the league. The way he reads the game, the way he can read a player. Like, I know he's not the quickest across the ground, but his mind gets him that extra yard. I mind watching him against Dundalk a few months ago in the Brandywell. Ronan Boyce had gone forward and Dundalk had counter-attack, and he was 1v1 against Michael Duffy, but his head managed. He used his head rather than try to take, because he knew he didn't have the beating of Michael Duffy place for place. So he used his head and forced Michael Duffy over the line, which and things like that people don't recognise.
He's very good at bringing the ball out from the back as well, and actually he goes on an odd mazy dribble, which I enjoy as well. And he rarely loses the ball when he does that. That's the funny thing; he rarely loses the ball when he does that.
Very rarely does it. He's very good with his feet as well. He's a leader for such a young age. He's 22. He's a captain at Derry City. I think when he was appointed to captain, he was the youngest ever captain at Derry City. I would nearly go as far as saying quite possibly could be the youngest ever captain in the League of Ireland. I could be wrong, but there's not many times you see a 21, 22-year-old being made the captain, especially when you have the likes of Kieran Harkin there and Kieran Call and Donny Lafferty. Players with far more experience on him. But there's no doubt that Owen Toole,
he doesn't play like a 21, 22-year-old though.
He doesn't. He plays like a 31-year-old. I think it's. I would love to see him stay. I'd love, even if it was just for another year, just to get this project up and running. With as you say, the best centre half in the league. And build the team around him, and then maybe in a year's time, if he wants to move on, then so be it. But look, if he doesn't stay, then he'll have the best wishes of Derry fans, as long as it's across the water and not the Shamrock Rovers, which has been rumoured in recent days.
I'd be pretty sure, to be honest, if he goes, he'll go across the water. Yeah, I suppose to finish up, JP, and I'm going to ask you, are Derry City the next League of Ireland powerhouses, and how soon do you think they can challenge for the title, in your opinion? No pressure.
Powerhouses. Well, there's no doubt the potential's there now with all the cat. Well, I think what we have to remember is that it wasn't Derry City. It was sold for $2 billion. It was the chairman's business. So we have to remember that as well.
He's not. A disclaimer: he's not going to put $2 billion into Derry City.
No, definitely not. But it looks like he's going to put quite a bit on that. So there's definitely the potential there for Derry City to do that. And one difference that we have compared to our teams throughout the league is it's a local man. He's been there. He's been there for quite a number of years, and it's not just somebody who's come in there a bit of cash and decided he wants to be chairman of a football club. So I think that's a positive from our point of view, is that, and as we talked about earlier as well, the academy, he's laying down foundations because he's always spoke that he wants the club to be self-sustaining, and maybe this is his way of self-sustaining. He's put
especially he might be thinking, I think he's 6 years of age as well. He might be thinking, look, I want to really stamp my authority in this,
Yeah, and look, this is my thoughts. This is my thoughts on it. I don't know if this is what he's thinking himself, but my thoughts is that he's putting all his money in. Hopefully, maybe win the league, get a good run in Europe. Maybe, who knows? Maybe do what have done and reach the group stage. Maybe is that his way of trying to make the club self-sustaining? I don't know. It's the early days yet. We'll have to wait and see what his plans are for making the club self-sustaining. But look, there's no doubt that the potential is there for Derry to become the powerhouses of the League of Ireland. On challenging for the title, I think next year we can probably challenge for the title. I think next year, again, I think it's probably too early. We probably have to wait and see what
It
other
depends who
players
else they
come
bring
in.
in, JP, though. I mean, there's
Yeah,
strong
it
rumours
does.
that Patchin might be coming back to be a good signing.
Yeah.
Georgie Kelly's been muted, but in my opinion, I don't think they'll get him because he's doing a Masters in Dublin.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that might be, you know, but
Yeah.
they'll try and get him. But you just don't know. If they brought in 3 or 4 players that really gel together, it is possible to do because I think, without going in into too much detail, if you look at the league table this season, like Pats are second, but they've lost 8 matches. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if Pats they've been good, but they haven't been right up there. And Shamrock Rovers have even dipped a little bit compared to last season. So for me, it is possible. And it's difficult to say if they will or not, but it's possible. Guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Hit your bell notification button so I don't miss a video. And let us know what you think in the comments, Derry City fan or otherwise. And JP, that was excellent. Thanks for coming on. Fair play.
Cheers, Keith. Thank you.
Ole, 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 ole.